Last week in this video, I asked the question, if your liver could talk, what would it say? And we talked about discussing the evaluation of your liver health with your doctor, especially if you happen to be overweight or have pre or type 2 diabetes. So today I want to talk about some actions that you can talk to your doctor about to help you avoid the development of fatty liver or begin to reverse it if you're confirmed to already have some level of fatty liver. And I want to introduce you to a concept to think about. This isn't a medical term, but simply an acronym that I've developed to help you focus on a strategy that can help you move in a healthier direction. And the acronym that I use for this is something that I call O.D.M, and it stands for the following. O stands for offload sugar, D, decongest the liver, M, minimize dietary elevations of blood glucose and insulin. And so each of these concepts contained within O.D.M are aimed at accomplishing the same overall objective, but by thinking about the individual components that make up this acronym, my hope is that you'll have a clear, more visual understanding of the mechanisms that encourage the body to let go of stored fat, not only in the liver, but also fat stored throughout the body in general. So again, the O in this acronym stands for offload sugar. So now what does that mean? It means this. The reality is that most people who are overweight or have fatty infiltration of the liver get to that state due to an excess consumption of and over storage of calories over time. And certainly here in America and other industrialized countries where manufactured processed foods are so prevalent and abundant, weight gain is very often the result of too many sugar and carbohydrate calories, which ultimately get converted to body fat as well as fat stored within the liver. Now, it's true you can gain weight and develop fatty liver from overconsumption of various combinations of excess food, whether we're talking about too much carbohydrate, protein, or fat. But by and large, it's pretty clear that today the enormous prevalence of highly processed sugar and carbohydrate-rich food products play the greatest role in the overweight and obesity problem that we're facing in America, as well as so many of the disorders that stem from these food products. That being said, there are two mechanisms that help facilitate the offloading of stored sugar from the liver and the body. The first mechanism is simply by following a clean, healthy diet. As we eat cleaner and eliminate unnecessary sources of processed carbohydrate and sugars, and the more consistently we eat real, minimally processed foods, the more efficiently the body will be able to naturally offload or burn excess sugar calories by tapping into our stored body fat and utilizing it as fuel. The second mechanism for offloading sugar is by increasing utilization of these stored calories by adding to our daily calorie deficit through the addition of some type of daily exercise, walking, swimming, riding a bike, etc., and possibly even adding strength training or weight training as part of an overall exercise program. The D in O.D.M stands for decongest the liver. Now, a normal healthy liver is red, it's smooth, and it looks healthy. And one of the main jobs of the liver is to store excess sugar in a form called glycogen, and also to release that sugar back into the bloodstream at times when we need it, such as when we're asleep at night and we're not consuming food, or when the body is in a fasting state for long hours or even days at a time in some cases without food, such as with intermittent fasting. But as we consume an excess of calories over time and the liver is no longer simply storing sugar in the form of glycogen and fat is subsequently being stored in the liver as well, the body consequently reaches a point where excess dietary sugars and carbohydrates are then forced to be stored outside of the liver throughout the abdomen and the periphery of the body. Once this tipping point has been reached and the liver is full of fat, it's common for higher levels of glucose to begin spilling into the bloodstream and initially creating a picture that's consistent with prediabetes, often with pre-diabetic skin changes, elevated liver enzymes such as ALT and AST, and higher levels of glucose consistently found in the bloodstream. And over time, if nothing changes and we don't address our diet and lifestyle, and we continue down the path of consuming excess calories, this scenario often progresses to the point of full-blown type 2 diabetes. So how do we halt that process and head in the opposite direction? There's an old saying that goes, the fastest way to get yourself out of a ditch is to stop digging. Likewise, when it comes to the D in O.D.M, and the goal is to decongest the liver and allow the body to begin letting go of stored fat from the liver, we began that process by limiting the ingestion of excess sugar and carbohydrate calories, as well as limiting an over excess of calories in general. We've got to stop digging. We've got to stop adding to the problem, which has resulted in excess weight gain and the development of fatty liver in the first place. The last letter in the acronym is the M, which stands for minimize dietary elevations of blood glucose and insulin. And we do this by being mindful to avoid or minimize the consumption of foods that we know raise blood glucose levels excessively. This is where referring to a glycemic index chart can be helpful so that you have a clear picture of the types of foods that actually raise your blood sugar levels the most. Because the more consistently we eat foods which have a high glycemic rating, the more easily these calories are stored as body fat as well as fat within the liver. This is also where a CGM or a continuous glucose monitor can be helpful in giving you a real-time look at whether the foods that you're regularly consuming are spiking your blood glucose, as well as giving you a moment-to-moment glimpse at what your blood glucose is doing throughout the day or the night. As a matter of fact, my wife recently began wearing a continuous glucose monitor because she's currently in a metabolic state that many doctors would refer to as pre-diabetic. So the other day, as I was writing down some of the things that I wanted to talk to you about in this video, she had just come home from working out with her personal trainer, and she came into my office around 1 o'clock in the afternoon and said, "I haven't eaten anything today, and yet my blood glucose monitor says my blood sugar is 158. So we talked about that. She hadn't eaten anything since the evening before. She'd gone and worked out with a personal trainer that morning for a solid hour, and when she came back home, despite not having any food or fuel in her stomach since the evening before, her blood glucose was fairly elevated, above her usual baseline. So what's happening here? What's happening is the O and the D of O.D.M. First, she hadn't eaten anything since the evening before, so her body is naturally having to meet its energy needs by utilizing stored calories from the liver or from peripheral body fat. In working out with her trainer, she was adding to her calorie deficit and forcing her body to offload stored sugar calories to meet her energy needs during and after the workout. Consequently, her continuous glucose monitor alerted her that her blood glucose level was elevated. And we talked about how this was actually a good thing because her body is letting go or offloading stored sugar calories and utilizing it as fuel that she needed to get through her workout. And over time, with consistency as well as being mindful to minimize foods which significantly raise her blood glucose level, she'll continue to see weight loss as well as improvement in her baseline blood glucose levels by putting the concepts of O.D.M into practice. In a nutshell, the main idea of O.D.M is to give you a visual reference to help you approach your life on a daily basis in ways that increase your likelihood of success. Whether success to you means preventing or reversing fatty liver and type 2 diabetes, or simply striving to reach your healthiest weight. Feel free to discuss this video and these concepts with your doctor. Get their input and their guidance about your particular medical situation. I want you to reach your absolute healthiest, best version of yourself, and I know your doctor wants the same for you. I hope you found this video helpful. Please share it with someone you feel might benefit from watching it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Be well, and I will see you in the next video.